of all, we got to make sure this is actually working. So I'm going to pull it up. As you guys know, with Jay being on the road, we're improvising a little bit here using my computer. We're using a new software. I can see we got a whopping 4 viewers in the chat right now. So let's see. Evan, talk for a second.
Well, we, only 4 of you guys here right now, but, I'm happy to be here. First time joining the show. So, hopefully it should be some fun, and the boys should be rolling tonight, just like the Oilers will be rolling tonight too.
Yes, sir. Let's see. Yes, we have volume working on both ends. All right, now it is a great time for an official introduction. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, inside the Nation pregame show, as always, presented by our friends at Deuce Vodka. Make sure you pick up your Deuce Vodka at all Sobeys and Safeway liquor locations. Spank Yag, friend of the show, let me know yesterday. It's on sale right now at Sobeys. So if you haven't yet, go pick up your Deuce Vodka. Evan, before we get to your official introduction, I know you're a fan of Brett Kissel. Deuce Vodka, owned by Brett Kissel.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Brett Kissel. And Josh, I also don't mind a Caesar every now and again. So
yes,
might have to mix some Deuce Vodka in there in the future.
Yes, sir. All right. This is my pal, Evan Kenny. We went to Nate together, graduates of the radio and television program. Good friend of mine, sports reporter out in Lloydminster for primetime local news, and as well the host of the Nucks and Pucks podcast. Great for amateur hockey content. Juniors, they get a lot of great interviews on the show. If you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you check it out, Nucks and Pucks podcast. Let's jump into it right now, Evan. Wow. Last night, I know you take games against the Ottawa Senators with a grain of salt. We've learned this in the past. Eric Francis from Sportsnet Calgary has said, maybe a free space on the bingo card for NHL teams in the North Division. Yeah, we saw how that panned out for the Calgary Flames, so obviously not. But still, at the same time, watching the Oilers just dummy the Sens 3 games in a row, it can make you happy as an Oilers fan. Yeah, seriously. I mean, anytime you can get a win, obviously, nobody's complaining about 2 more points, coming up in the win column there. And I mean, the boys, they played good. They were rolling all 3 games. I mean, I thought the first 10, 20 minutes maybe of that game last night was a little lackluster from the team, but they were able to pull it together. Obviously, came out with that win. That's all you can really ask for from the team. As always, we want you to be a part of the show. So if you haven't yet, jump in Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube. Let us know in the comments what you thought of last night's game. Evan let me know before we jumped on the stream today that he's going to have some buds, some pals, maybe just some Evan Kenny fans jumping in on the chat today. Evan, we actually already got some coming in here. I'm going to read them off to you. We got one from Bryce. Hot take. Evan is hotter than a piece of meat than what they have at Arby's. Connor Lang says heart. Evan eyes, or Evan heart eyes. Troy says Evan looks like he should be in a beer commercial. I would agree. Beer? And we know Evan's a beer guy. I am. Bryce says, hey, that's my dad. Just a lot of fans of Evan Kenny in the comments early. So, Evan, it's a good start to the show. Well, I'm here to please people. So thank you for the nice words. And yeah, hopefully, keep them coming. I like it. Yep. I like it. Elliot says that's a confident young man right there. Bryce Lynch. Bryce, as always, big fan of the show. Thanks for coming in. Bryce says tonight is a huge conference game. We need it. Pat Murphy says we need to tighten up in the D zone. Nucks won't have as many turnovers as the Sens. Let's go, boys. Got to back up Niko and take it to Vancouver. We'll jump into the starting lineups in just a few minutes here. First of all, Evan, what's the approach for this team when, you come off a 3-game set against the Sens, the worst team in not only the North, but pretty much the NHL? You got to flip the switch. You're playing against not necessarily a strong team tonight in the Vancouver Canucks, but this is going to be a different game than the 3-game set against the Sens. Yeah, they have to come out guns a-blazing in my mind. I mean, I said it, that first 10, 20 minutes for the Oilers last night was definitely not their strongest performance. And I mean, while Vancouver is second last in that Canadian North Division, they are still a better team than Ottawa. I think that's, more than safe to say there. They do have that top-end skill and some veteran presence. That's things that Ottawa is missing there. So yeah, the team really needs to come out strong, and I think they need to get the bodies flying. I mean, that line of Patrick Russell, Jujhar Khaira, and Devin Short, that line needs to be buzzing. I thought that they were playing very good in that Ottawa series. One of the more physical lines in the game, let alone for the Oilers. So they really need to come out strong and start banging bods early. Agreed. Let's jump into the starting lineups for tonight's game presented by Deuce Vodka. As always, that top line, Draisaitl, McDavid, and Yamamoto going to stay together. If it were up to me, that line stays together forever and into eternity. The second line, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Tyler Ennis, and Jesse Puljujarvi. I don't know if you heard it on the broadcast last night when Tyler Ennis scored that goal when Jack Michaels went a nice feathery touch by Tyler Ennis. Did you hear him say that?
I didn't.
Let me know if you heard that. When Jack Michaels last night went, Tyler Ennis with the nice feathery touch, it just killed me. Third line, as Evan mentioned, centered by Drew Jarkera, on the wings, Devin Shore and Patrick Russell. Fourth line, Gaetan Haas, James Neal, and Alex Chiasson, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Evan. Starting in goal tonight for the Edmonton Oilers, Niko Koskinen. On the back end, Nurse and Barry stay together. Larson and Legason, Jones and Bear. Once again, Evan Bouchard will remain on the taxi squad, will not draw into tonight's game. Evan, Mike Smith has been lights out for the Edmonton Oilers. There's been a lot of people saying, what is it with Dave Tippett? He just seems to always go back to Mike Smith in whatever situation it is. He always seems to get the benefit of the doubt. He always seems to go back to him, even after he has a rough game. But at the same time, you can't even really make that argument because I feel like in this season so far, it's kind of clear-cut who the Edmonton Oilers' number one goalie is. It's Mike Smith. But on the other end, we're going to get Niko Koskinen tonight. We've seen kind of a mixed bag of performances from him. What do you expect out of Koski tonight?
Yeah, he's been up and down. It's been tough to say, but he had a huge, strong game against Calgary. I guess it was almost a month ago now at this point, but he needs to have another performance like that. I mean, it's hard to expect 40-plus saves from a goaltender, but for Koskinen, I think he needs to have one of those kind of bounce-back games, especially, he struggled against Toronto like all the Oilers did.
Yeah.
His only other game since Toronto was one game against Ottawa here. I mean, like we said, the competition isn't quite as high when you're playing Ottawa versus a team like Vancouver here. So he's really going to need to step up. One thing I've noticed from Koskinen this year is he seems to be quite deep in his crease.
I've noticed that a few times too.
I'd like to see him come out, challenge a little bit more, especially you got some sharp shooters on Vancouver like Brock Besser, one of the best snipers in the league. You're going to need to come out and challenge those kind of shots. So I think that'll be a huge key for him.
One thing tonight, we haven't even mentioned it yet, Pearson not playing. So Peterson's injured, will not be in the lineup tonight. Let's jump into some of the comments we got so far. Kyler Kotick says, Koskinen needs to make at least the first 10 saves. If not, Oilers might be screwed. We've seen it in the past. Koskinen, giving up that first goal and one of the first shots of the game kind of sucks. Bryce Lynch, hopefully we can spank the Canucks so the Leafs fans can suck it. And yeah, I agree. We're just seeing the Canucks come off of they've been, I think, 3-1 in their last 4 games. Like they are on a bit of a heater right now. Of course, the Oilers 7-3-0 in their last 10. Oilers are playing some of the best hockey they've played all season right now. So yes, although this Canucks team did have some very, very tough struggles after an okay beginning start to the season, this Canucks team, they also just took 2 off the top against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then, of course, they got pounded last night by Montreal. But Evan, give me some numbers in regards to the Canucks versus the Oilers so far this season.
Well, the Oilers are up in the series so far. They played 4 games. The Oilers are up 3-1. And that one that they dropped, as most of us know, was the season opener. So it's been a great last couple of games. But like you said, Vancouver is hot as of late. They're only 4-5-1 in their last 10 games. But in their last 4, they're 3-1. So they'll be rolling. Like I said, they got stomped 5-1 by the Montreal Canadiens in their last game. So they'll be coming out with something to prove here. So, I don't know if it'll be, like that 3-0 type of game like we saw in the Oilers' last win over Vancouver. Maybe it'll be closer to 4-3 kind of game here.
We got some comments coming in. Eli on Twitch says, the funny thing is that when the Oilers lost 3 straight against the Leafs, people thought the season was over for them. Oilers go on a 3-game win streak versus the Leafs, lose 3 straight. Oh, how the tables have turned. I don't think I read that correctly, but you get the point. Sean says, is this the last season we're going to see the orange as the primary color? How would you feel about the royal blue returning? I like the orange jerseys. I don't know. I think if they had a good hybrid of it, I don't know about those, like the dark blue ones with like the thin orange stripes. I don't know about them. What do you think?
I mean, I'm kind of indifferent, honestly. I'm not the biggest jersey guy. That might be a hot take, honestly. But
actually, you know what that is right there? That's a former hockey player. I don't care about how I look. I just want to perform. I'm all about the show.
As long as it gets results, who cares?
Yeah. James Mitchell says, don't let the highs get too high and the lows get too low, i.e. the Sens and Leafs series. We need to keep on an emotional level. Patty Murphy says, Jam Jar, a.k.a. Jew Jar, Shorzy and P-Russ need another huge game. Boys can chew some good minutes and give a good heavy forecheck. Elliot Herbers says, Forecheck, back check, paycheck, boys. Couldn't agree more, Elliot. Randy says, let's make it 5, boys. Bryce says, Evan is the answer. Connor Lang says, what's the over-under on Koski letting in the first shot? Well, technically, it would be more of like a line. So I would say Koskinen to let in the first shot plus 115. You don't know a thing about sports betting.
I do not.
We talked about this pre-show. You get in it. You got to get on the sports betting, man.
We'll see. I'm not responsible enough with my money. So
see, I am far from responsible with my money, and that's why I sports gamble.
Oh, that's the point of it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Bryce says, one more bad game for Koskinen, and he's headed to the taxi squad. That's a savage comment, Bryce. Elliot Herbers, any updates on Cassian? Cassian has been skating, so we've seen Cassian take part in a couple of different team-related activities, kind of different with a hand injury because you can get on the ice a little bit earlier. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to get back right into game action as soon as you get skating again. Obviously different than, ACL, MCL, lower body injury, but we'll see. They've been very, very kind of laid back and kind of DL about the whole Cassian situation. So we have no idea what's going on. As always, keep firing off your comments in the comment section. We love to hear any hot takes you have. We're also going to get to, Evan, definitely some trade deadline talk. I know we talk about this every freaking show, but we're going to talk trade deadline because I love trade speculation. Evan loves it, and we will get going in just a second here. All right, some more comments from Facebook. Kyler Kotick, any details on Stalock? Is he out of quarantine yet? No, he is not. Stalock remains in his quarantine. I think he has a few days left. Going to be an interesting situation, Evan. When Stalock comes back, they're going to want to get him into a game. And not only are they going to want to get him in a game, but if he even wants to sit on the bench as a backup goaltender, you have to activate him from your active roster. Activate him onto your active roster. The funny thing is that likely they're going to waive Niko Koskinen into the taxi squad because of the fact that, if let's say Mike Smith's starting and you want to have Alex Stalock as your backup, they're going to waive Niko Koskinen. No one's going to take on that contract, but it's just going to be funny when they do it. And everyone's going to be like, they finally waived him. But it's like, no, this is literally just a paper transaction because they just have to get Alex Stalock off of the taxi squad.
Yes.
Is what I was trying to say.
Correct.
Troy says, Dry going to finally get that empty netter. Almost had one during warm-up last night. Oh, are you talking about the empty netter that he shoots during warm-up? You know what's funny? Have you noticed the last few games? What's up with the Oilers and empty net goals, man? The Oilers hate empty net goals. I know you're not a sports bettor, but there's so many people. This happened already in this Sens series that the people that bet -1.5, let me know if this happened to you. So if you bet -1.5, it means you think the Oilers are going to win by 2. When Draisaitl missed that empty net, man, that costs so many people so much money. Not me. I'm not betting.
I was just about to say.
Not me. Not me. I'm not betting right now. But we'll get you on sports betting eventually. Okay.
We'll see.
A couple more questions coming up here. Rob Anderson, if Mikko makes it past the first 5 shots on goal, we should be fine. Go Oilers. Yeah, man. I freaking Niko Koskinen sometimes. Listen, I want him to succeed, but I love Mike Smith. What do you think about Mike Smith getting into the little scrum at the end of the game there?
Oh, love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I honestly wish we had more guys like that who would jump in, especially, you're a goalie, right? Nobody expects you to do anything.
Yep.
And, I love to see that.
We love it.
Best 7th D-man in the league.
Yep. Oh, man. The amount of pressure it takes off the Oilers defensemen when they just want to move the puck. Nothing gets me more excited, but then when I see Mike Smith behind the net and he's looking both ways and he makes such a crisp first pass.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that just takes so much pressure off your defenseman. I absolutely love it. Alan's coming in already with the Jake DeBrusk trade rumor talk. Alan, you know how to get me going. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Let's not jump the gun. Alan, stay tuned, and I want you to be a part of this conversation. Is Cassian skating yet? From Womp TV. Yes, he is. Cassian's been on the ice. What's up, Tegan? Thanks for joining the comment section. Tegan says 4-3 Oilers. Kent, Mikko is in that, but at what cost? And then that's a good. Okay, Gene. I didn't know Gene was a big fan of the pregame show. Okay, let's jump into our Deuce Vodka player modes. Evan, this is your first edition. Obviously, your first time on the show. First time doing the Deuce Vodka player modes. So essentially what it is, you guys know how it works. You give me a player and you give me the mode they're going to enter. I'll start.
Okay. I'm
going to pick Mr. Jesse Puljujärvi. What did we hear a few days ago from him? Jesse, considering, how far he's come when a few years ago, the trouble with the media availability and the losing in translation between the English and his language, but all of a sudden this year, he might be giving us the best media clips and the best sound bites of anyone on this team. And what did he say the other day? He likes to use that big booty, and we saw it last night with that reverse check that he laid on Brady Tkachuk when Tkachuk came flying in and thought he was going to have a free run at Jesse Puljujarvi, and boom, Jesse with the big booty backs right into him. So as always, he does every game, but I want Jesse Puljujarvi to enter big booty RV mode tonight.
Big booty RV.
Big booty RV mode.
Love it.
What is your Deuce Vodka player mode?
I love it. Well, obviously, first player mode here, Deuce Vodka player mode here for me.
Yes.
Got a little rundown before we started up here. And, there was one guy who jumped out to me. I think he's going to have an electric night. He's been playing good, and really his whole line's been playing good lately, and he's ready to score. Devin Shore is going DJ Pauly D mode, Jersey Shore, scoring like there's no tomorrow.
I absolutely love it. What a performance, eh? First Deuce player vodka mode, you're going to pull out a Pauly D reference on me, eh?
I try my best.
Why not? Hey, if you haven't seen it, if Devin Shore scores tonight, did you see my edit of Devin Shore?
No.
I'll throw it up on Twitter tonight. If he scores, I made him the cover poster of a Jersey Shore poster. It looks pretty funny. Have you guys seen that? Have you seen my Devin Shore edit? Let me know. All right. We got some comments coming in here. Shane Klossing, Shaner the Container. Holy smokes. Is that former Nate Ooks men's broadcast crew, Josh Park and Evan Kenny? It is. We actually used to call Nate Ooks hockey games together when we both went to Nate. So this is a nice reunion here. Okay, Kyle Smith says 5-3 Oilers. Uh-oh, here comes trouble. Chris B. Noss is here. Sorry, guys, I am late. How is it going? Chris, glad to have you in the comments. It's going amazing. Evan, special guest to the show today. Jay just decided not to be a part of today's show. It's okay, Jay. I imagine he's not watching, but if you are watching,
it's okay.
Hello. Okay. Alan says, use his big butt more. Haha, that was an awesome check. Troy says, it sure was. Love me some JP booty. Heck yeah. Chris says, would you guys move Koski for Bernier, considering Bernier's contract is up after this year? I don't necessarily see a transaction where we see two goalies go in both directions, especially, with the quarantine rules and everything going on with the NHL. I think the Oilers are going to make a move for a goalie in the offseason. And I think it's going to be a bigger splash than that. I think they're probably going to try to get like a certified number one. At least that's what I would want them to do, but we'll see. Kyle says, mine is Ethan Bear. Scott says, Yamamoto gets a goal and an assist tonight. And with that, let's talk very, very briefly, and then we'll get more onto tonight's game. Let's talk a little trade deadline.
Okay.
I've said in the past, but before we even do that, I need to address some haters out there. I would like to perform a small soliloquy for everyone watching this. I've said in the past that I am ready for the Tyson Barrie slander to end. I will not allow it anymore. Listen, I've seen so many trolls on Twitter that like to tweet out stuff like Tyson Barrie and Darnell Nurse need to stop shooting the puck. That is absolutely ridiculous. Tyson Barrie is playing some of the best hockey that we've seen offensive-wise, from an NHL Edmonton Oilers defenseman that we've seen. He's got 24 points this season. He moves the puck well. He skates well on his own end. That goal last night was an absolute sniper's goal. I think we're getting to the point here where we got to give Tyson Barrie a look on McDavid's wing almost. Like, guy's legit. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Yeah. But listen, I tweeted it out last night. We are not trading Tyson Barrie at the deadline. I don't care what anyone on Twitter tells you. I don't care what your buddy tells you. Tyson Barrie will not be traded at the trade deadline. And if he is traded at the trade deadline, then don't quote me on this clip, but I'm telling you either way, they're not going to trade him at the trade deadline. Okay, Evan.
Yes.
Let's talk offseason. Not offseason, but let's talk trade deadline. Christian says Gibson this offseason. Christian, I would like to see that. Matthew Gladue says DeBrusk would be sweet in Edmonton. I've said that in the past, buddy. I'm a big DeBrusk guy. I would love to see him in Edmonton. Evan, what do you see coming this offseason for the Edmonton Oilers? But actually, no, let's not even do offseason. Let's do trade deadline. I know you got some hot stuff on the burner. Hit me. I'm ready.
I'm ready. So for me, we all talk about how the Oilers need scoring depth. And I agree on that. We can't be relying on McDavid and Draisaitl to really be, carrying the team throughout playoffs, especially, once you get to those better type teams, those tougher series.
Yeah.
So I thought, let's add some size because obviously it's playoff hockey, but let's also add some scoring depth for those second and third lines.
Yeah.
Couple guys that I have written down who sort of fit the bill in both of those. Nick Foligno. He does have a no-move clause, so could be difficult.
Yeah.
But, $5.5 million cap hit. I believe he's got 11 points this year. He's never been the most offensive guy, but I think he plays a great 200-foot game. Another guy, which, this might be a little off the board here, but Ryan Getzloff. I think he would be.
Well, we've heard a lot of talk about Ryan Getzloff.
I think he would be a fantastic fit in Edmonton. Going forward in the future, he could be like a Joe Thornton type guy, signing that $1 million contract. He's from the Prairies. He can still put up points, and he plays a gritty game. Right? He's 6'4", 6'5", something like that, and loves to throw the bod. And then another guy I have written down here. Actually playing in the game tonight, Tanner Pearson. Why wait that 14-day quarantine or whatever, however long it is, He's got that playoff experience, winning a cup. He's a 20-goal scorer consistently, having a little bit of an off year at just 9 points this year. But with that off year, I think we could get him cheaper.
You know your stuff, man. This guy's, he's educated. He knows what he's talking about. Listen, I think the biggest thing for the Edmonton Oilers is that if you want to make a deal in that sense, Evan, the biggest thing is you got to have money going in the other direction. Yeah. Because this team is already up against it when it comes to cap space. So, if you want to get a guy like Ryan Getzloff, if you want to get a guy like Tanner Pearson, the biggest thing is that you got to understand there's going to be money going in the other direction. So at what cost does that bring you? You know what I mean? If you can unload James Neal's contract, listen, I'm literally wearing my Real Steel James Neal shirt right now. So I don't want to start throwing out talks about them getting rid of Neal. But, I think that when it comes to depth, I would agree. It would be nice to have a little bit more scoring touch in the bottom six. But I'm almost opposite than you, Evan, when I would rather have another top six guy come in. Whether it's Jake DeBrusk or they potentially give a look at, I don't even know who else. I'm just hard on Jake DeBrusk right now. So, I would like to see them get a little bit more depth up front. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like I said, Matthew Gladue says DeBrusk would be sweet in Edmonton. Jason Shuchuk, I want to see Patrick Russell get a goal tonight. We'll talk about Patrick Russell in a second. Don't even give me that.
I'd also like to see Patrick Russell score.
Stop that. We'll talk about Patrick Russell in a second. Tegan says, isn't Nurse leading the league in goals for a defenseman? I believe that Victor Hedman or Jeff Petrie has taken over now. When I was talking about Tyson Barrie, I wasn't necessarily saying he's the leader when it comes to it. I'm just saying he's near the top. And when he's elite. He's elite. And when it comes to players that are playing on new teams this year, he has the most points in the NHL when it comes to that. Logan Morrisseau, thoughts on Nuge? Oh, boy. I don't have Jay here to get mad at me. I don't know how much of a Nuge fan you are, but every time I start to slightly slander Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' name, Jay attacks me. So maybe we'll just leave Nuge for another day.
Yeah.
Okay. Shane says, boys, would you pay Barrie as a UFA next season, or do you have to let him go because there's so many good D? Shane, a great question. I've talked about this in the past. If Tyson Barrie came to Ken Holland and said, I'd like it in Edmonton, I've seen some chemistry starting to develop between him and guys like McDavid and guys like Draisaitl. We've heard it in the past. Tyson Barrie is a guy that people like to play with, especially if you're an offensive player. So, obviously, if he enters free agency and he wants to get paid, he'll get paid. Tyson Barrie, that's just how it is. If he wants to walk and he wants to enter the free agent market and get paid, he will get paid. Well, he's going to enter free agency either way. But if he came to Ken Holland and said, listen, I want to stay in Edmonton Oilers, and I want to play here for the next 5 years at $4.25 million a year, I would sign him.
No-brainer.
No-brainer.
Sign him too. Like you
no
said,
brainer.
There's that chemistry, not just with McDavid, Draisaitl, but him and Nurse are actually looking like a number one pairing.
Yes.
And, that power play each game, it seems to be clicking more and more. I think it's a no-brainer to keep him if he wants to stay.
Yes, but if he wants to walk into free agency and he wants to sign a 2-year ticket at $7 million, he likely gets it. Yeah. But if he wants to get a long-term deal and he wants to have a chance to win a Stanley Cup, if he went to Ken Holland and said, let's go 4x5, I absolutely would do it. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Chris says, I see Sutter and Dzingel. Listen, I want to talk about that for a second because a couple weeks ago, I was on State of the Nation with Tyler Yaremchuk, and he actually had a hot take about this. The Edmonton Oilers are playing a game on the trade deadline day. Do you know who they're playing? The Vancouver Canucks.
Ooh.
And there have been talks that the Oilers were looking to get a 3C. And this is even before Jujhar Khaira's emergence this year, when all of a sudden he was filling that void that maybe people were looking for. Kyle Turris experiment, it didn't pan out. It's too bad. He had a great game the other day. He's on the COVID protocol list right now. I don't know what the update is with him on that yet, but there were people saying that, if you take a commercial flight this year, whether you're injured or whether you get traded, you still have to quarantine for a few days. But if the Oilers make a trade for Brandon Sutter on deadline day, they're already in Vancouver. He can walk across the hallway, no quarantine, and play for them that night. So it's like, if you're looking to get depth at the 3C position, Brandon Sutter, I believe he's the right shot, can penalty kill, that would be an option. I just think it's so funny. They play them that day.
That would be it. I mean, is that something that the NHL has ever seen before? A guy literally walks one room to another?
I feel like we saw it last year. I just have no idea who it was. We saw it last year. If you know who it is, let me know. Chris, would love to get Getz, but I don't know how it would work. Yeah, I would love him as well. Wow. Money in, money out. They would have to retain part of the salary. You imagine you're giving up a third or fourth round pick as well as some money going out. Elliot, a big Evan Kenny fan. Evan coming through with the legendary answers. Couldn't agree more, Elliot. Rebecca Lewis says, Edmonton Oilers Stanley Cup this year. Whoa, that's a hot take.
Piping hot.
I'm not going to say no, but that would be amazing. Rob, this is funny. Getz, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yeah, wouldn't that be a full circle, hey? For years. But listen, I hate Corey Perry more. I'm okay with Ryan Getzloff. Corey Perry, don't even think about ever coming to Edmonton.
Listen, but those are the kind of guys that you love if they're on your team, you hate when they're against your team, right?
Yep. Okay, Tegan was chirping you. He said, Evan knowing his stuff, you bet. Little bit of a chirp. But then one of your buddies came to his defense. And he said, Bryce Schumacher says, Evan slander will not be tolerated. And then Tegan said, inside joke. I just thought that was funny. So your boys got your back.
Hey, Tyson Barrie slander and Evan Kenny slander,
will not be tolerated. Don't even think about coming after Tyson Barrie or Evan Kenny. CRS Cross says, real talk. To get any of these, oh shoot, it just went up. Real talk. To get any of these potential names, who are we willing to give up that another team would actually want? Well, good question, Cross. The thing is that if you want to get any of those names that Evan mentioned and you're going to have money going back in the other direction, these are teams that suck. Is a simple way to put it.
Yeah.
These are teams that are bad. Look at Anaheim. They're going to have a certain amount of dollars on their cap. Of course, they've already met the floor. I don't think there's really any teams in the NHL that are struggling to get to the floor right now, with maybe the exception of Arizona, but I'm pretty sure they're far and above that. So, at the end of the day, when it comes to teams that are looking to trade some of these players that are willing to retain salary, it's all about stockpiling assets for the future. So that's why if you wanted to get a player like Ryan Getzloff, yes, potentially some money could be going in the other direction, whether it's in the form of Alex Chason, James Neal, or whoever it may be. But that's not the only transaction that's happening there. You're going to have money going in the other direction, but also on top of that, you're either going to have, it could be a high-end or medium-end prospect as well as a draft pick. It could be one of the two or both. So when we're talking about money going in the other direction and why would these teams want these players, there's also assets on top of it, Evan. You would agree?
Yes, 100%. That's it.
Chris says, I would pay Barrie 4-5. Yep, I agree, Chris. You always agree with me. I would also pay Barrie 4-5. Cross, once again, he's got the real talk, or he or she, excuse me, either way. Cross has got the real talk coming in here. Trade talks are always about who Oilers should be targeting and money in, money out. Yes, essentially that is trade talks for every team. Money in, money out. So if you're a team that's looking to add some assets and make a deep run, and I'm talking assets that are going to help you in the right now, there has to be money going out, because likely if you're a good team, you're already at the salary cap. So if you want to be bringing in another player, you're going to have to be moving money out. Okay, Chris, if we got Sutter, Kara is the fourth line center, we would have great depth and an improved penalty kill. I would agree. I love Jujhar Khaira. We also will not tolerate any Jujhar Khaira slander here. We love the hammer.
We love him.
We love the hammer. Okay. Chris says, hot take, Haas scores a hat trick tonight. Buddy, that was a nasty goal that Haas had last night.
Filthy.
What do you guys think? Let us know.
Oh, filthy. And I love that, Brady Tkachuk was getting all mad at, he hurt his goalie. Well, Tkachuk, you pulled him into the goal.
Yeah.
What do you expect to happen, man?
Yeah. Matthew Gladue, a young D might be an option for Nebraska. I could live with that. Hey, if you even for 1 second try to trade Ethan Bear, All of Edmonton will come after you. I already experienced that the other day when I suggested an Ethan Bear for Jake DeBrusk trade. I got hammered. Dwayne Neufeld, Arizona struggling to hit the cap floor, laughing face. I actually don't even know. Are they? Please, Dwayne, help me out here. This might be bad television. This isn't TV, though. This is just online content. Let me know. I have actually no idea where Arizona's cap floor is. I have no idea where they're at. I know they have a couple big contracts on the book, you know, with OEL, Phil Kessel. Yeah, hot dog guy. Yes. Okay, Chris, dude, Haas is great. Love the hard work. I agree, Chris. Okay, before we wrap it up today, we're going to get to one more headline. Struggle getting that out. We need to talk about Patrick Russell and Dominic Cahoon because we have mixed opinions on this. I know I tweeted it out earlier. Known Patrick Russell stan, Evan Kenny, you agree with him being in the lineup. I'll let you have your reasoning first, and then I'll come back with mine. Why do you like Patrick Russell in the lineup over Dominic Cahoon? Go ahead.
Let me start off by saying I wouldn't call myself a stan, a fan. Yes, stan is just, you know, one too far. But I like that gritty kind of play, especially, you know, who else is going to be moved down to the third line, right? You think Tyler Ennis? He's not really a third liner, right?
Nope.
When's Tyler Ennis going to go check and, you know, go retrieve pucks, go do the gritty work? He's not. Patrick Russell hasn't really done anything wrong. I think he's played great hockey, and just to take him out of the lineup at this moment, I think would be the wrong time.
The thing for me is that, you know, if we're looking at the exact moment, like if we're looking at tonight's game as a solo event, whatever. If Patrick Russell's in the lineup over Dominic Cahoon, we haven't necessarily seen what we expected out of Dominic Cahoon this season, but he also hasn't been terrible. He's got 2 goals in the year. Would you maybe want a little bit more? Sure, I digress. Let's just talk about the future. If I'm Dave Tippett and I think that I'm legitimately a playoff team and I see Dominic Cahoon as a part of the future on this team and I want him as an every night guy in the lineup in the playoffs, I do not understand why you would not play him right now.
See,
you want him to develop a rhythm. You want him to get into his own. Would you not?
I agree. I was just about to say that. Good point there. You know, I don't know. It's tough. I'm glad I'm not in Dave Tippett's position, really, like trying to manage those lines. And if a guy is coming out of the lineup, it is going to be Patrick Russell.
Yeah.
I just don't think right now.
The funniest thing that I've heard the last few days is, you know, there's people that'll make comments like, oh, like Dave Tippett has such a hard job trying to decide what to do with McDavid and Draisaitl. Dave Tippett, man, what a tough decision deciding when to break up Draisaitl and McDavid again. But then at the same time, you're like, oh, wow, what a rough life. You got the 2 best players in the NHL right now. Okay, Nathan McKinnon's good as well, and Austin Matthews. But, like, it's just so funny because they're like, oh, what a tough decision. Where do you play these 2 elite forwards? Just kills me.
Gosh, you're saying Austin Matthews, man. This
let's not. Evan and I had a funny interaction with a kid at an ODR a few weeks ago when I was pumping Austin Matthews tires. Listen, I know I'm an Oilers guy. I love the Oilers. Austin Matthews is a good player. And this kid came after me because I said that Austin Matthews was a good goal scorer. But anyways, let's leave that to be. Evan, before we wrap up today's show, I appreciate you coming on. This has been an honor. You know, this dates me back to our days at Nate.
Oh, yeah.
Before we wrap it up, quick plug for the podcast. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, like Josh said in the intro, Nucks and Pucks podcast, available on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, really wherever you find your podcasts. And you know, it's just me and co-host. We really talk about hockey, football, baseball, a little bit of everything. And we try to have an interview in there with some local junior guys there. So, you know, it's really just us trying to have a good time and chat sports.
If you like junior content and you want to know about some of the up-and-coming players or some good stories from past junior years, Evan Kenny's Nucks and Pucks podcast with co-host Eric Bay is the place to go. We thank you for being a part of today's show. As always, we love Oilers hockey, and we love it when you come and join us on these afternoons, and we just chat about what's coming for that evening. As always, the show is presented by Deuce Vodka. Make sure you pick up your Deuce Vodka at all Sobeys and Safeway liquor locations. Tongue twister with that. Evan, appreciate you being a part of today's show, man. You know your stuff. This guy knows his stuff. We'll have him back in the future again. Thank you for commenting. Enjoy tonight's game. Bet responsibly, and we will see you on the next game.